TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and I want to let you know that the State of the Saints podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Over 2 million men worldwide have joined the movement for all their below-the-waist needs. Engineers for the last 18 months have perfected the greatest hair trimmer ever created, the Lawnmower 3.0. The third-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. You can choose the Lawnmower 3.0 as well as other items by going to manscaped.com, and you can also save 20% by using the promo code StateOfSaints. That's manscaped.com. Use the promo code StateOfSaints and save 20% on the Lawnmower 3.0 as well as other Manscaped items. That's manscaped.com.
Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And we have a special guest here for the third time, triple threat here on the State of the Saints podcast. We have John DeShazier. JD, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. I'm looking at your intro and seeing all that Manscaped product. I'm about to get online pretty soon. We're sponsored by Manscaped, and we really do appreciate Manscaped for having us on board with them as a partnership. And JD, glad to have you here on the State of the Saints podcast from NewOrleansSaints.com. Haven't spoke to you since the announcement of the retirement of Drew Brees, and somebody that follows the team, somebody that that gives us that post game, after every Saints game, win, lose, or draw. And you had the opportunity to be in the locker room with Drew Brees. What is something that you're going to remember about number 9 in the New Orleans Saints uniform? I think the biggest thing is just how relentless he was about his work and striving to be the best he could be on the field. He was a dude who, there was no amount of work he wouldn't put in either before practice or after practice. He was a to his routines. He had a maintenance program that he was religious about, and the work he put in to be, as productive as he turned out to be was something to behold. I mean, the dude just never rested, and he was real meticulous about what he ate, sleeping, what he drank, just everything about him just was so organized and structured. I can't imagine the dude sleeping past probably 7:30 in the morning or something. I'd be shocked if he probably calls sleeping at 6:30 late. He's just one of those kind of people. So, that's the thing that stood out the most, even more than the production. It was watching the stuff that he went through to be able to give that production.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all remember, going to remember Drew Brees as being one of the all-time greats. And JD, you had an opportunity to, like I said, watch some of these games and also watch some of these Saints, comebacks. So one in particular that's most recent is the one against the Washington football team, was known as the Washington Redskins at the time. And just so many great moments. But is there like one moment that you actually had the opportunity to watch firsthand Drew Brees actually, going out there, controlling the offense, something that sticks out in your mind?
Maybe it's the Miami game where, the Super Bowl year where he it wasn't the, we call it the Breeze leap where he scores on the 1 yard touchdown, he does the hop, but the fact that, he was emotional about it, spiked the football after okay, we got this. And, in a comeback mode in that game and didn't look good. He did that. And then it was like everybody else felt like, well, okay, we good then. If Drew feels like this about it, then we're good to go. Just that kind of moment. You saw a few of those from him because he wasn't the type that would, throw a touchdown on some cornerback who'd been talking some stuff and, run up and kind of, point at him or anything like that. He was the type that if he did something and he spiked the football or something like that, you knew it meant something to him. He, a couple of years ago against the Falcons, he ran for a touchdown. Two DBs had him dead to rights. He faked one out. One came in for the kill shot. He spun off of him, dove into the end zone, got up, spiked it, and it was like, okay, Saints gonna win this game. You just felt like it. If he felt that big about it, then you felt like they were in good shape.
Yeah, I think we all just love the competitiveness of Drew Brees. Like, most of the time we see him as, cool head Luke, but there are times where we actually see that intensity show on the field. Like, it didn't work in his favor, but I remember the game against the Bears, in the wild card game. And, he thought that he got over the top and he said, we had to get in. Yeah. But that just shows you the type of person Drew Brees is, the competitor that he is. And, I said this, JD, I mean, he turned around the franchise, a struggling franchise. I'm a native of New Orleans. I just seen some bad times, JD, in my time growing up in the ninth ward of New Orleans. But, just the guy just coming in, 6-foot quarterback, and he just basically just changed how you think about Saints football. And not only that, I know people are talking about how great he, where did he place in, in history? Is he a top 10 quarterback? I'm always giving guys the notch when they're pioneers. And I just feel like if it wasn't for a guy like Drew Brees, I don't think you'll have a guy like a Russell Wilson. I don't think you have a guy like a Baker Mayfield or a Kyler Murray because, Drew Brees showed you that an undersized quarterback can be successful in the National Football League. I have to say that you have to give him, top 5, top 10 recognition just based on that alone.
Yeah, production's got to stand for something. It's got to mean something. And the dude produced a boatload, not just numbers, but wins that went along with the numbers. And the number of players that he played with who, while he's putting up those numbers, receivers who weren't Pro Bowl receivers or at least didn't get that recognition because, in my mind, Marcus Colston will always be a Pro Bowl receiver. But, guys who didn't get that kind of recognition, Drew Brees just always made you feel like the Saints had a chance. Every Sunday, no matter who they were playing, road or home, even if the defense you knew was going to give up 28-31, you always felt like the Saints had a chance because he had the ball. And sometimes it was just a matter of him not having the ball last that the team didn't win because, it was some of those situations. There was a lot of pressure on him for those 15 years as a Saint, and he delivered a lot more than he didn't.
Yeah. And I think we all in the Who Dat Nation appreciate everything Drew Brees has done for the city of New Orleans as well as the Saints organization and giving us great moments. But, now the Saints, they turn to the future, JD. This is the NFL. The NFL, the wheels keep turning. And now the Saints move on. And JD, the more people that I talk to, it seems like there's some nervousness in the Who Dat Nation because, like you said, Drew Brees has been a standard for 15 years in the Saints uniform. And now people are wondering who is going to pick up that torch and carry, And my question is to you is, looking inside the Saints locker room, do you think that the New Orleans Saints are good, for life after Drew Brees when it comes to leadership?
Well, I think they are just from the standpoint of they've got a good nucleus of players. That defense is still good. When you got Cam Jordan and you got David Onyemata and you've got, Demario Davis and you've got Malcolm Jenkins and you got Marcus Williams and, Marshawn Lattimore. So I think from that standpoint, you feel good about the team because, the Saints currently don't have to score 35 to win. There was a time where if they didn't get 31, 35, 33, they might not be able to win a game. Now they've got enough defense to where the defense can carry the day a lot for this team, and if not carry the day, they can certainly get enough stops to where they can put you in position to win. So from that standpoint, yeah, I feel like they're going to be competitive. I think they're in good shape. When you're talking about people being worried about the quarterback situation, they should be. I mean, because for 15 years, you had it in great hands. You knew exactly who was going to be back there. You had a good idea what he was going to produce. And so you didn't worry about that. This, for the first time in maybe 17 years, the Saints got a quarterback competition, and you don't necessarily know. And even if those guys, even if, Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill come and produce, do they bring you the same level of production? Do they bring you the same, leadership? And more than that, as a quarterback in the NFL, at some point or several points during the season, there's going to be some late drives where you just got to get it done. You either got to get that game-winning field goal, or you got to get that go-ahead touchdown, or whatever it is, but you got to get it done on offense. And the Saints hadn't had to rely on anybody to do that except Drew Brees basically for 15 years. So can Taysom Hill do it? Can Jameis Winston do it? We don't really know yet. We know Jameis has had more chances because he was a starting quarterback at Tampa Bay, but he didn't have the roster around him in Tampa Bay either. And a lot of people, kind of dump on Jameis a little bit and say how Tom Brady elevated things in Tampa Bay. And Tom Brady did. But look, when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay invested a whole lot more around Tom Brady than they did around Jameis Winston. Now,
right?
Let's be real. So, I understand Tom Brady is a fantastic player, but Jameis didn't have no Gronk, and he didn't have no Leonard Fournette, and he didn't have a team that invested in the defense the way Tampa Bay did. And so, some of those things are, legit and yet kind of sort of bogus too. So Jameis Winston will have a better surrounding cast in New Orleans. But again, it comes down to, can you make that big throw? Can you rally the troops when, there's going to be some games where you just don't play well for 2.5, 3 quarters, but you got to come up with the goods in the fourth quarter. So, can Jameis and can Taysom do that? We don't know that of them yet.
Yeah, I agree. Look, like I said at the beginning, I've seen some bad quarterback play from the New Orleans Saints in my time. Yeah. So I can understand how people feel and how skeptical they are about, can these guys deliver. But, I look at the leadership that they actually have. I look at guys like Demario Davis and Cam Jordan. You have to say that the Saints were preparing for this moment. Even like when Drew Brees went down the year before and Demario Davis started commanding inside of the huddle. And then you see this year, it was like a combination of both of them inside of the huddle. Demario would say the speech and Drew would come in and say something else after him. So I think the leadership is there. I think that, I think we all as Saints fans need to give these guys an opportunity to see what they can actually do. But we talked about Jameis Winston. You mentioned him. You all had an opportunity to have a little bit of an interview, a press conference with him. And, members of the, I guess like Saints fans, I should say, a lot of them are on the fence about Jameis Winston. Some of them can't get over some of the things that he did in the past. Some people can't get over the fact about the interceptions that he threw when he was a starter, the 30 interceptions. But JD, you had opportunity to, be at that press conference with Jameis Winston. Do you see a change in Jameis Winston? And is there something that we in the Who Dat Nation do we need to buy into what Jameis Winston is indeed selling right now? Did he make a believer out of you?
Well, as a teammate and as a leader, yeah. Everywhere he's been, going back to Florida State and all his years at Tampa Bay, you have never heard teammates say a bad word about Jameis Winston. Not a one. They love him as a leader. They love him as a teammate. They love his talent. And yes, he did throw the 30 picks in Tampa and had some fumbles that year too. But before that year, he was pretty steady around 13, 14 interceptions a year, which is manageable. Because really in the NFL, that's pretty manageable. Drew Brees spoiled us throwing, 6 interceptions in a season. He had some seasons where he threw, 14, 15. So, that's pretty much where Jameis Winston was. And you feel like with a better cast around him, with better coaching, or at least coaching that stresses to him, you don't need the home run. It's okay to take a single. It's okay to take a sack because you can punt it. You got a good defense. You'll get the ball back. But again, you put the offense around him that the Saints have. Saints have the two best tackles in the league for my money, and Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead. They have, to me, an underrated, but I think blossoming center in Eric McCoy. I think Eric McCoy is Pro Bowl caliber, all pro caliber already. They feel good at the guard position with Cesar Ruiz and Andrews Pete. Now, Andrews Pete will have some days, but, he's out there. He's versatile. Then you throw in Michael Thomas at receiver and Alvin Kamara at running back. Well, a lot of teams would love that. So the Saints ain't exactly begging for help on offense. So Jameis won't have to go out there. And again, he won't have to win every game by himself. There's going to be some situations where he's going to have to come up big, but he's got a lot of help out there. So you can minimize the risk because you've got a good surrounding cast. You got a good supporting cast. And I think that's a big thing that he saw when he came back, said, you know what? I got a chance to not only win there, of course you want to get paid, but I got a chance to win there. And Jameis, he got emotional talking about being on a playoff team where he wasn't even starting quarterback. But he would, to have a chance to be in those moments, to play meaningful games, to see how a team prepares and all that stuff. I believe fundamentally, I do believe it changed him as a person. Now, I ain't saying he was a bad person because, again, he did some stupid stuff in his younger days. A lot of that, I think, is attributable to youth. Again, man, I did some stuff when I was 21, 22. I wouldn't want my mama to know. and so I'm sure he had some of those moments, but I mean, he sounds like a matured player. Is it going to manifest itself on the field? Well, he said, he had somebody tell him, you can be a good quarterback, and I'm paraphrasing, you can be a good quarterback, and not a good man. But if you're a good man, it'll make you a better quarterback. And I think he is at the point where he's a pretty good man.
Yeah, I look at Jameis Winston, and I mean, he won me over. I had an opportunity to really kind of just watch this guy, his rise. Even when he was at Florida State, I think we all saw him. The Heisman Trophy winner, the national champion. But like you said, I mean, we all make mistakes when we were young. I remember being a young 19-year-old sophomore going to Jackson State University. And, thank God for they probably have social media and stuff like that at the time. Exactly. But you grow from those things. I mean, look, he's a husband, he's a father, and those type of things change you. And I know that from personal experience, being a husband and a father. So I believe that he can change. I feel like people need to give him an opportunity to do so. Now we got to talk about the NFL draft. NFL draft is closely approaching. The New Orleans Saints have some holes they need to fill. What position do you think the New Orleans Saints should address with the first pick that they have in the first round?
Well, I mean, as it stands now, if nothing changes between here and the draft, I would have to say that they would have to look at cornerback. I mean, when you lose Jack Rabbit Jenkins, one starter, and Marshawn Lattimore has a legal matter that has to be cleared one way or the other. And you think, and from the NFL's track record that there could be a pending suspension there. I mean, I'm speculating there, but I mean, if that's going to be the case, then that means you don't have your two starting cornerbacks on the field for game one, at least. So, that's one of those places where, you can never have too many good cornerbacks. It's hard to find good cornerbacks. You basically almost have to draft them. The Saints had to draft Marshawn. Janoris Jenkins was a first-round pick in the NFL draft. So you almost have to draft the great ones because it's just hard to find them. I mean, you can get a guy who's undrafted who can be a player for you, but sooner or later those warts will kind of show up that'll tell you why he was undrafted. So you almost got to go and get one. And the way the Saints are right now, P.J. Williams is back and Pat Robinson is still on the team, but I would think that they would have to look at defensive back, cornerback right now because, again, if Jack Rabbit in the round and if you don't know exactly what Marshawn's situation is, and you're probably going to need some help there. You would need help there even if there was no issue with Marshawn. So now that popped up, I think you definitely have to have some help there.
Yeah, I talked about that too. Before, the Jackrabbit situation, the cap casualty, I was like, the Saints need a linebacker. I never really seen like the Saints draft that sideline to sideline linebacker like most teams in the NFC South do, like the Luke Kuechly's, the Thomas Davis, the Debo Jones, the Devin Whites. It seems like every other team in the South has gotten that linebacker, that thumper, that disruptor that as a Saints fan, you're like, man, I'm tired of this guy. But this is a passing league. And, if you don't have stability at the cornerback position, you're going to get beat. You got some of the best wide receivers in football in this division alone. So I definitely agree with what you're saying about the cornerback position. I think that's very important. But, I do think they need to get that linebacker later on, also. But let's talk about the pickups that the Saints have had. Let's talk about Tano Passigno. I hope I said his name right. From the Kansas City Chiefs. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was drafted back in 2017. He reminds me like a Ziggy Ansah type player. When he first came out, he was a raw talent, had a lot of, ability and skills. And, he's coming to the New Orleans Saints. What do you think, from your personal opinion, what can he bring to the New Orleans Saints? Do you think he'll be a starter? Do you think that he would just be a solid rotation player? What do you think?
Oh, I definitely think he's going to be a rotation player. I don't know if he's going to be a starter because, he'll probably be a nice little scrap for a starting position between he and Carl Granderson, dude that, who kind of flew under the radar and got about 5 sacks or so last year. But he is a big dude. He's 6'6", he's 261, so he's rangy, he's long. He can play inside and outside. And, you always benefit if you got a stud on the other side. So you got Cam Jordan on the other side. You got David Onyemata in the middle who's wreaking havoc. So that will make his job that much easier because as Trey Hendrickson did last year, Trey Hendrickson took advantage of all those one-on-one situations and started beating people, got 13.5 sacks and cashed in as a free agent. He can be the exact same guy because he'll be in that position. Whoever's on that other side will be able to take advantage of that. And, you rotate the line around, you get in those pass situations. He said one of the things he liked was the fun he saw the Saints having and the way they were relentless. When Kansas City played the Saints last year, Saints sacked Patrick Mahomes 4 times. Didn't win that game, but I thought they played Patrick Mahomes about as well as you can play him, without just getting shredded. They made him chip everything, and the defense was on the field for 92 plays in that game, by the way. But I think he's somebody who can come in and challenge. I think he'll immediately be in the rotation. But I think he's got starting quality. He's got the physical dimensions to do it. He's got the athleticism to do it. So now he's going to have to put himself in a situation where hopefully he can take advantage of some of what he'll reap from Cam Jordan and from David Onyemata.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. I know he has a lot of upside and a lot of promise. And, my final question for you is about Marcus Davenport. Is this a put up or shut up year for Marcus Davenport?
Well, he's see it in him. And that's the thing. He keeps getting hurt. And that's the thing, too. And, the most important ability in the NFL is availability. If you're not available, then it doesn't matter how much of a physical specimen you are. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how fast you are. If you ain't on the field, it don't mean nothing. So that's the big thing with Marcus. Can he stay healthy? Because if he's healthy, then he is everything the Saints drafted him to be. He's long, he's strong, he's athletic. He gets to the quarterback. He's playing the run much better. He just got to stay healthy. Is it a put up year? Yeah, it's a put up year for him because, this is his 5th year. It's a put up year. He needs to stay healthy and be an integral part of this defense because they're counting on him. They need more than just a name on the roster. They need more than, him playing 6 games and then he gives in those 6 games, he gives you, 4 sacks and, 5 quarterback hits and, force a fumble and then miss 3 games. That doesn't do any good for continuity for a defense. You need to be able to depend on folks. You got to be able to count on them. You got to be able to say, okay, we're going to have him for at least 14 games. Well, 15, because now that the NFL season's going to 17. So at least 15 games, you feel like you need to have him, because when he's out there, he makes a huge, huge difference. He just got to be available. And that's the big thing with Marcus. Is he going to be available? Because, every time you see him on the field, even if he don't make a statistical dent, if he don't have a tackle or a sack, you just see him in the backfield doing stuff. And it's like, okay, that's the thing. He's making an impact, because it ain't always about you getting the sack. Sometimes you force the dude to pull the ball down, step up, and David Onyemata comes up with the sack. Or you force him to run the other side, and Cam gets the sack. That can happen, and that impact goes undervalued, but Marcus can do that. That's what he's got to be available to do, and that's the big thing with him.
Yeah, I think we all are waiting for the light to come on with Davenport. I mean, everybody, I think a lot of people know that the talent is there. Yeah. The physical attributes are there, but like you said, it's about availability. I've heard this said so many times, like you can't make the club in the tub, like yes, you got to make sure that you're out there.
Yes, sir.
You got to be out there. Your teammates got to be able to count on you. So looking forward to big things with Marcus Davenport and finally seeing him live up to his potential. But JD, thank you so much for being a part of the State of the Saints podcast. And before you get up out of here, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Well, you can always get me on Twitter at John DeShazier. I'm also on Instagram under my name, John DeShazier. I'm rarely on Instagram, but I check it every now and then. But mostly, I'm a Twitter head, man. I love being on Twitter. I'm on there, for a good majority of the day, because I just feel like that's where I get my best news, and all the people I follow, including TJ. So that's where I kind of catch up with everything I need to find out. So. But that's the main way to get me, on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely. We look forward to hearing from you, and also like seeing your tweets, and also that great commentary when we start getting close to the season, from NewOrleansSaints.com. We're always looking forward to that. JD, thank you so much for being a part of the State of the Saints podcast.
Always a pleasure, and looking forward to next time. We won't wait so long next time.
Nah, we won't. All right, you take care.
You too.